Hey everyone, Luke here from Bedford Camera and Video, and I've got Mark Cruz, a senior product manager from Nikon, to talk about a new camera that they have coming out. So Mark, tell us a little bit about what's coming out next.
Yeah, so we just announced a few days ago the Z5 camera, which I have in my hand right now, along with a brand new lens, the 24 to 50 millimeter f4 to 6.3 lens. So this is a truly compact package. It's our entry point into full frame. So it is a full frame Z-mount sensor. It's in terms of price, it sits exactly between a Z50 and a Z6. However, it's very close to a Z6 in specification.
Perfect. So who is this camera actually designed for?
Right. So we've designed this camera really for someone looking for an entry point into full frame. People that may have been shooting with a crop sensor or even just want to get into photography. And in 2020, they're looking for something with full frame mirrorless specifications. So this is our entry point into that. The price point makes it essentially the lowest we've ever offered in terms of full frame. And essentially with this feature set, it comes very, very close to a Z6. So it doesn't make any compromises. So even for people that are experienced, I would say, you know, there's ideal customers, and then there are customers that would benefit from it as well. And I would say even experienced customers that are looking for a full frame camera with no compromises, but maybe they don't necessarily need the high-end video features of a Z6. This delivers on all the pro-end still features of the Z6, whether it be autofocus points. The ISO range is very similar, and a lot of the features built into the camera that just make it an uncompromising full frame are in the Z5. So I think people will be generally pleased with the price point, especially when we kit it with this brand new 24 to 50 lens. It's been shrunk down because of the new optical technologies we can develop around the Z mount. So it's a very small, light, compact system.
That's fantastic. So what is the actual resolution of the photo side and the video side for the Z5?
Well, so for the photo side, let's talk about that first. The resolution it's a 24 megapixel sensor. It has ISO range from 100 to 51,200 ISO with a high 1. Okay, so one of the differentiating features is the Z6 has a high 2 as well. The video specs, as far as resolution goes, this can shoot 4K. All right, at 30 frames per second, as well as 24. So key differentiators at this point, if you're doing your homework for cameras in this price range, that's one of the key things. We can also do 1080 at 60p. Now, one key differentiator between this and a Z6 is that the 4K has a 1.7 crop with the Z5. So it's important for people to know that, especially when if they're trying to do video with this and assemble lenses, they have to figure the 1.7 times crop. Whereas with the Z6, you can shoot full frame. So your 50 millimeter is really 50 millimeter on the 4K. So that's one of the major differentiating factors. With a Z6, you can also go to 120 frames per second on HD. With the Z5, this is up to 60 frames per second on HD.
Gotcha. So what's the autofocus system like on this camera in comparison to the Z6?
Well, if people out there are familiar with the Z6, put it this way: it is the same platform as the Z6 firmware 3.0 platform. That includes the 273-point array, but as well as the latest technologies we've implemented into the Z6, which includes face and eye detect, both for humans and for pets. In stills mode, we have face detection as well in video mode. So in terms of the autofocus, it is essentially the same as the Z6 in every respect, even to the latest firmware upgrades of the Z6. So people that are coming over from a DSLR that are used to shooting with a cluster of points right in the middle of the frame, that's oftentimes limiting, even when you want to do things like rule of thirds or do creative compositions. With this mirrorless camera, it encompasses 90% of the frame. So you have freedom of composition, you have access to 273 points, and you can have various different methods where you can focus, such as face detect, which is built into the auto area AF mode. So very comprehensive system, and I think people that are experienced, anyone from novice to experienced, can grow with this camera. That's the key thing.
So tell me a little bit about the creative features of this camera.
Yeah, I'd love to. A lot of people don't realize that when we came out with the Z system in 2018, just a couple of years ago now, we implemented a lot of built-in creative features that you can do right in camera, such as we have 20 new creative picture controls. These are picture controls over and above the standard picture controls that we've had in Nikon cameras. They're creative. They're sort of like Instagram picture controls, so that right in camera you can adapt that. You can even apply them later on in our retouch menu as long as you shoot in RAW. That's one of them. Another things that you can do with this camera is do basically double or multiple exposures right in camera. You can change the blending modes to lighten or darken, just like in Photoshop. You can even do that in the retouch menu, so that you can blend two photos that you took last week and one that you took today together, as long as they're shot in RAW. So that's the great thing about the built-in. We also have things like built-in time-lapse and interval timer. And I'll tell you, with the Z5, this is the first camera that can do both at the same time. We've had those features in previous cameras, and now we can actually do both interval timer, getting the full 24 megapixel images, as well as the 4K time lapse if you choose, right out of the camera, so you don't have to pick one or the other. And the last thing I will say is that this also has some really cool creative features, high-end creative features like focus shift shooting that a lot of people use for focus stacking. The camera automates the way that the focus moves from near to far, from close to infinity, to your specification. So you set the width in the camera, you set up how many steps. The camera does it for you. It even gives you a black and white preview of the areas that are in focus before you actually commit to rendering a stack. So for an entry level full frame camera, this has so much of the same things that the Z6 has. So I'm really suggesting that people take a hard look at this when they're looking at full frame cameras in 2020, be it our lineup or anything else out there, because this has, in the time that we've released it, has already a lot of different reviews out there, and you can check out the specs on our website.
Awesome. So you would mention like some of those creative features on that camera. Now, what about the connectivity aspect for the camera to, let's say, a smartphone?
Okay, as similar with a lot of our Z cameras, as well as our DSLRs, our smartphones are a big part of this workflow. We have an app called SnapBridge, which you can find on the Apple App Store as well as Google Play. It's a free app, and what that allows you to do is take your JPEGs, NEFs, even movie files, transfer them to your phone or smart device, tablet if you have it, and do that in several different ways. You can send high resolution files via Wi-Fi, but this camera is also compatible with Bluetooth. And with that connection to the app and Bluetooth, what it gives you is the ability to synchronize the clock to your phone, synchronize the location data, so you can actually get GPS information, geotag it in your EXIF data. You can also set it to send 2 megapixel files from the camera to your phone. So what that means is you can have a high resolution 24 megapixel NEF in here, and at the same time it's spitting out a 2 megapixel JPEG, which is perfect for social media. And it does that all in the background while you're running other apps or while you're continuously shooting. So it has a great way to harmonize your workflow. As well, you can actually use your phone as a remote control for the Z5, both for stills and for video. And a lot of people don't know you can adjust with our latest updates to the app, you can adjust exposure, white balance, as well as start and stop your video as well. So it's a very powerful app, and that's in terms of our connectivity with our smartphones. It's never been better. And I'll tell you one thing that also that the Z5 has is connectivity to your laptop or a desktop computer with a simple application from or the simple utility from Nikon, and you can send full resolution JPEGs or NEFs right to your desktop.
Would you have to do that through a USB cable, or can you do that wirelessly to your computer?
You can actually do it, you can set it up wirelessly. That's the great part. So a lot of people tether. If you're in the studio, they tether with a USB cord or sometimes an Ethernet cord. With a simple utility, we can actually wirelessly not only set it up, but send the images right to the computer. So you can shoot now to SD cards as well, which we'll talk about in a second. But with this free utility off our website, you can actually tether in the studio and send it right to your laptop with no cords. That really frees you up in terms of distance.
So as far as the USB cable goes, though, what type of connectivity do you have through the USB?
Yeah, so we've implemented now a USB 3.0, USB 3.0, 3.1 actually, USB-C connection. So we have a USB-C connection. This gives us a lot of functionality now, not only in terms of the speed connectivity, when you do things like wired tethering, charging the battery through it, sending images from the camera to your computer, but now we have something called USB power delivery. And that's, I think, where we're going to go with this now that we're here talking about the USB. This is the first camera in our lineup that does USB power delivery through the USB-C connection. What that means is that as long as you have a battery in here, you can actually run the camera indefinitely. A lot of people are doing video production now. We're shooting this with a Nikon camera, with a Nikon Z camera as well. And it's being powered. It can be powered just through the USB connection. We have an EH7P AC adapter, and that's just plugging in straight to the USB port. And what that gives people is the ability to run indefinitely. You can use something like an Anker Power Core Plus here, you know, a USB sort of power bank, and you can be out in the field running video production for a long period of time, or even if you're doing time lapses and you're running for 8 hours, which the Z5 can do, you can do that, you know, beyond the capabilities of the battery inside, which, by the way, has been improved quite a bit. We are using a new battery now called the ENEL 15C, and that gives you 470 shots using the LCD screen.
That's really awesome. So as far as recording media, what type of media does this camera facilitate?
Yeah, so a lot of people have been asking us since we came out with the Z6 and Z7 just a couple of years ago now. They've been harping for dual card slots. We came out with the XQD and now CF Express option for the Z6 and Z7. But a lot of people have been asking us, well, you know what? I would love to get into the Z series if you just offered me dual card slots because I shoot weddings, I shoot events. I need that redundancy, I need that reassurance. So what we've done with the Z5, especially for this customer base that are looking for maybe more inexpensive cards and more readily available cards, and maybe want to reuse the existing cards that they have, SD cards have been applied in here. You can use UHS-2 cards. Our minimum requirement is UHS cards that are class 3, and that gives you 30 megabytes per second. That's enough to record at 4K. But we do have dual SD card slots that you can use both for stills. For video, you can dedicate one for video, but for stills, you can shoot to both cards redundantly. There are 3 different ways you can set it up, but it's really convenient. You can even copy between cards, and that's what we've chosen to do on this. And I think a lot of people that are shooting events can now look at something like a Z5 to get them into the mirrorless world of the Z series.
So tell me a little bit about the VR capabilities of this camera.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because for this price point, at full frame, at what we're introducing with the Z5, we have IBIS. So we have in-body image stabilization with our built-in VR technology that was previously implemented in our lenses. Our lenses dictated whether or not you had VR. Now it's built into the body. And that's really key because any Z or S-line lens, which is within the Z mount system that you attach to the Z5 will have 5 axis up to 5 stops as well of image stabilization. That's key both for video as well as for stills. For people that are doing video and they're hand holding, they're vlogging, they're not using a gimbal, we can also layer on top of that in video electronic vibration reduction. So we have 2 forms of vibration reduction in here. The optical, which is utilizing the a combination of the lens and the sensor, but also electronic stabilization if you wish. You can turn one of them on or off, or you can do them in a combination with one another. So we've implemented in that as well. And if people are looking to adapt F-mount lenses onto this, it will inherit 3 axis stabilization from the body. That's key because a lot of people might be looking to get into a Nikon system and they're looking at our array of lenses. What's out there? Do I adapt what I have? Do I have to go to an F-mount system? Use the FTZ adapter for it. The great thing is that if an F-mount lens doesn't have VR in it, it will inherit it from the body.
Absolutely. So I think the big thing that most people will want to know right now is, one, What's the price point of this camera and the availability?
Yeah, so we've announced a price point for the body only. So if you're looking for the body only, you might have existing lenses out there that you want to use. It's also great for a second body if you have a Z6 or a Z7. Some people just want a second body. That is $1399.95. That's our MSRP. Availability will be coming later on in the end of August 27th, we believe. We have a kit version with the lens that you see here right now. Look how small that is for you guys that see it out there. That is when it's brought in and we can extrude it. That's the workable zoom range from 24 to 50. With this lens here, it's $400 more. So it is a savings of about 100 when you get the lens alone. Excuse me, you get a savings of 100. So it will be a $60.99 kit. And we also have one with the 24 to 200 millimeter lens as well. So we will have 3 kits available come end of August.
And there you have it, that's the new Nikon Z5. I want to thank Nikon and Mark for joining us for this video. If you want to add this camera to your bag, go ahead and visit us online at bedfords.com or your local store. I'm Luke from Bedford Camera and Video, and we'll catch you next time.